So the very first problem, it says a nationwide study of American homeowners revealed that 64% have one or more lawnmowers. Okay? It says, feels the estimate is too low. Can the value 0.64 be rejected if a survey of 490 homes, blah, 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 blah. So I have my X in my, X, which is 331, and I have my N, which is pretty easy to identify, correct? You guys see it, 490?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You guys all see it? My alpha is 0.05, and my claim proportion is what? 64%, 0.64. And there we go. And there's all our values. So how am I going to write this? Well, on your test, you need to do the following. Does everyone understand where these numbers came from, first off? Yes. Okay. So here on your test, here's what you guys are going to need to do. I am going to go ahead and write it on a sheet. So you guys can kind of look at that. And you can look at this at the same time. All right. So here's what you're going to need in order for you to get full credit. You're going to need your null hypothesis and your alternative hypothesis. So you're going to need P equals and P is less than. Okay? Yes or no? Yes. And my claim value was 0.64, right? Does everyone understand where these values came from? That was my claim. Okay? You're going to need your test statistic, which in this case is going to be the z-score, so I'm going to put z. And I got that as 1.64, and I'll show you that in a second. And then I'm going to need my p-value, which is for a left-tail test, which is 0.949. I'm going to go back to the computer. Actually, too low. It should be greater than. Go back. The thing was actually too low.
I usually expert as a
greater than. Okay. Right? The claim is saying that, the guy is saying that it should be higher, right? So it should be that p is greater than 0.64. Okay, so this is a right tail test, which means that this p-value is actually not this, it's actually 0.05101. But when I go back to the computer, I'm going to show you guys that I had those values. There's my z, 1.64. And this is a right tail test because it was greater than 0.051. Good? Now, back to the paper. Now I need my summary, and I need 3 parts to the summary. This is very important for this chapter and the next one. The summary needs 3 parts. It needs, you're going to fail to reject or you're going to reject. When it's greater than the alpha, in this case it's greater than by barely, right? Barely, by 0.0001 it's greater than, but it is greater. We are going to fail to reject the null hypothesis. You need that statement. That's the first statement you need. Now, while you can't read it, it says fail to reject the null hypothesis. Okay? In fact, the last class, I was writing this stuff out. I couldn't even read what I was writing. So, if you guys don't know what it's saying fail to reject the null hypothesis. Okay? Second part. There is not sufficient evidence to, in this case, the claim was it was greater than, right? So there is not sufficient evidence to support the claim, and you're done. So there's 3 things you need. You need the first line, you need not sufficient or sufficient, and you need support or warrant rejection of. Okay, so there's 3 different parts to this. There is a fail to reject or reject. There is not sufficient or sufficient, right? And there is support, right? Or warrant rejection. These are the 3 parts in your summary you need to be able to get everything correct when you're doing these hypothesis tests. Okay? So basically, going back to what we did, we have our null and my alternative, we have my z-score, I have my p-value, I have my fail to reject, I have my not sufficient, I have my support. 3 things, right, in my summary. And that's it. Now, some people are going to make you write the claim out again, but I could care less. Just write the claim at the end, and you're good. Okay? Question, yes?
Does support always go with...
No. I know what you're saying, but no. This goes with this, and this goes with this, but these are dependent on what your claim is. So to answer your question, no. The majority of times, it will always be like this, the majority of times, but I cannot say that it's going to always be that way. Okay? Now, if you have no idea what this is saying, some of you are in that boat. Just go with these 3 things every time. Or just go with these 3 things every time.
Okay.
Okay? If you don't want to overthink things and you don't want to think about it, just go, like what Chris was saying, just go with that column. Okay? But this last one, it can be switched, is what I'm saying. Kind of like the whole PEMDAS thing. You know, you can do division before multiplication. Okay? All right. The next problem, and we're running out of time. We've got 2 minutes, so I'm just going to try and get through these quick. But the next problem, that one is basically giving you guys a claim, right, of 0.34. So I'm going to go back to the computer. I'm just going to put them in, but basically you're going to have your x. If you guys take a look at it, your x is 96, right? Your claim population proportion is 0.34. Your n is 234. And your alpha is 0.05. And this is saying, if you guys read it, the claim says, a researcher claims that the figure is higher. So greater than? Yes? So a right tail test again. There is my right tail test. Notice it is smaller. Yes, than 0.05. Which means I'm going to reject the null hypothesis. There is sufficient evidence, right, to support the claim. See, this is one of those. To support the claim. Right, Chris? This is one of those, right?
Yep.
That's different. Because our claim was what? That it was greater. So we rejected the equals, which is the null, and we agreed, and we're supporting the claim. So be careful there. But this one would be one of those is where it's reject, sufficient, support. That's what number 21 would be. Okay? Number 22, you're going to use the middle column because it's means. So I'm going to go over here, and if you guys read it, it basically states that the claim is the mean waiting time is less than 10 minutes. This is a less than, it's a left tail test. So the claim, that's the population mean, is 10. This is 18 occasions, so that's 18 is n. My sample mean, it gives us as 7.6 and 2.3 for the standard deviation. Does everyone see where those numbers are coming from? That's all I'm worried about. We know where those numbers are coming from. I'm reading the claim. You guys read the claim, right? The very last sentence, it says, what? It says, test the claim that the mean waiting time is less than 10 minutes. So, mean waiting time less than 10 minutes equals 10, alternative, less than 10. Right? Does everyone understand that this is the claim? Just by reading it, states it, right? Okay, now look at here. This is where I put the values. Does everyone understand that this right here, population mean, is the claim value? In fact, if you forget that, look over here. It tells you this is the claim population proportion. It's the same row. This is the claim mean. Okay? Now, when I put all these values in, I know that this is a 0.01. I read it, significance level. And because this is a less than, right? It's less than. We're going to look at our left tail test. What do you notice about that number? Very, very small. So this one's going to be a reject, sufficient, and just so happens it's going to be support again. Okay? All right, and then the last one that one's very similar to the one that we did earlier. You have to put those values out. Like I would just choose any value, like any column here, and put those values in. 13.8, 14.1, 13.7, 14, 14.4, 13.6, and 14.2. And then you basically have the sample mean, so that's equals average of these values. You have your population mean that you're going to look under. It says it is 14, so that's an equals, not equals. And this is going to be equal standard deviation of these values. And my alpha is 0.01. N is 8. And then I know it's equals, not equals, so we're looking at the two-tail test. And remember now, if this number is bigger than 1, you have to use the one next to it. So there's my value here. It's a failed to reject, right? Failed to reject. So this is the one we're going to say, failed to reject the null hypothesis. There's not sufficient evidence to warrant rejection of the claim. Because the warrant rejection of the claim here means that you cannot reject the claim. And the claim here was that it was equals, wasn't it? So there's another, so to go back to what I said, if you're going to just copy what I have up here, put the support with that side, because that seems the majority of the time, and that one with that side. Okay? If you don't want to think about it, but that seems like what the majority is. You guys see that? Okay, so just be careful. And then for those of you guys that don't understand, this null hypothesis would be mu equals, mean equals 14, is it? And alternative would have been mean does not equal 14.